Many people try to conquer lust through sheer willpower. They fight it, wrestle it, and battle it day after day. And while discipline is necessary, fighting alone often leaves us exhausted because lust is not only a battle of the body, it's a battle of the soul. And sometimes victory comes not by holding tighter, but by letting go. Surrender is not weakness. It is the freedom of placing the burden on something greater than yourself. It is saying, I cannot carry this alone. Surrender is not running from responsibility. It is leaning on a higher strength so that you can finally walk forward without chains. Let's begin with a classic story that embodies this truth. The story of Saint Augustine. Augustine was one of Christianity's greatest thinkers, but before he was a saint, he was a man consumed by lust. He admitted openly in his confessions, "Give me chastity and self-control, but not yet." For years, he lived a life of indulgence, chasing desire, unable to break free. He tried discipline, he tried effort, but no matter how hard he tried, he slipped back into old habits. One day, in desperation, Augustine reached a breaking point. He realized that all his effort was failing because he was relying on himself alone. And so, with complete honesty, he prayed, "Lord, I cannot do this on my own. Take me as I am." In that surrender, something broke. The chains that had bound him for years lost their power. Augustine transformed from a man enslaved by lust into one of the greatest voices of wisdom and devotion. His story shows us that surrender is not about weakness, it is about freedom. If you look at modern recovery programs, whether for addiction to alcohol, drugs, or lust, the very first step is always surrender. Admit you are powerless on your own. Healing begins not with pride, but with humility. Those who recover do not do so through sheer willpower. They find healing through surrender, through trusting God, trusting a higher power, leaning on faith, accountability, and love. Surrender gives them the strength they never had alone. Pause here and reflect. What battles are you fighting alone? What burdens are you carrying, insisting, "I can do this myself," but deep down knowing you are falling again and again? The human ego resists surrender because it feels like losing. But ask yourself, have you been winning by holding on? Or would you finally find freedom by letting go? Here is a challenge. Tonight, in prayer or meditation, admit your weakness. Say honestly, "I cannot do this on my own. I surrender." Write it down in your journal. Speak it out loud in the quiet of your room. Release it in prayer. See how much lighter your soul feels when you stop carrying a weight that was never meant to be yours alone. Why does surrender work? Because it shifts the battle. When we fight lust alone, we are limited to our own strength, which is often fragile. But when we surrender, we tap into something greater. God's grace, spiritual power, community support, the strength of love itself. Surrender does not mean giving up the fight. It means fighting with greater power by aligning with something higher. The scriptures across traditions remind us of this. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, "Abandon all forms of religion and surrender unto me alone. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction." In Buddhism, surrender is not to a deity, but to reality itself. It is letting go of clinging and craving, finding peace in impermanence. And the Sufi poet Rumi said, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your soul. Surrender is the door to peace. The voices may differ, but the wisdom is the same. Surrender is the path to freedom." I once knew a man whose marriage was collapsing under the weight of lust. He tried to fight it in silence. He promised himself he would change, but he kept failing. His wife was ready to leave. Finally, instead of hiding, he surrendered. He confessed to his wife, humbled himself before his friends, and cried out to God for help. That act of surrender, humility instead of pride, saved his marriage. It was not his strength that restored him, but his willingness to admit weakness and lean on others. So, how can we practice surrender in daily life? It begins with prayer or meditation. Each morning, take 1 minute to surrender your day. I am weak, but you are strong. Guide me today. It continues with accountability, sharing your struggles with a trusted friend or mentor. Surrender your pride and allow others to support you. Practice honesty. Stop hiding. Secrets are food for lust. Surrender secrecy, and its power fades. Fill your mind with wisdom, scriptures, poetry, teachings that remind you of truth and surrender, and practice letting go in small ways. Release outcomes you can't control. Breathe deeply when anxiety rises. Trust life instead of forcing it. These are daily practices of surrender. But beware of the opposite of surrender, pride. Pride says, I can do this alone. Pride isolates, pride builds walls, and in isolation, lust grows stronger. Humility opens the heart. Humility lets light in. Humility gives us the courage to say, I need help. Without humility, we remain enslaved. With humility, we are set free. Now pause again and think about your own journey. Can you remember a time when you surrendered something, whether it was control, fear, or even an unhealthy relationship, and found peace afterward? Did you notice that when you stopped holding on so tightly, the burden lifted? That is the essence of surrender. The soul was never meant to fight its battles alone. Even science reflects this truth. Psychologists studying addiction recovery have found that those who practice humility and surrender to God, to community, or to accountability recover faster and relapse less often. Why? Because surrender breaks the illusion of isolation. It opens the door to support, guidance, and strength far greater than what we can muster on our own. Surrender is not defeat. It is not lying down in despair. Surrender is a warrior's strategy. It is choosing the higher ground. Imagine a soldier fighting in the valley, exhausted and outnumbered. By surrendering his current position, he retreats to higher ground where he has advantage, clarity, and strength. That is what spiritual surrender does. It does not abandon the battle. It moves us to a place where we can finally win. And so, what does freedom through surrender mean? It means releasing the illusion of control. It means admitting weakness so that real strength can enter. It means placing your burdens in hands greater than yours. It means trusting that you were never meant to carry this alone. The chains of lust are often too heavy to break alone. But when you surrender, you discover you were never meant to carry them by yourself. Remember this: surrender is not defeat. Surrender is victory through trust. Surrender is not weakness. Surrender is strength in its purest form. The one who admits his weakness and places it in the hands of God, in the care of community, or in the wisdom of truth is stronger than the one who hides and fights alone. In surrender, you find freedom. So tonight, ask yourself, what burden can I surrender? What secret can I release? What weight can I lay down? And then do it. Not tomorrow, not someday. Do it now. Because every day you carry it alone, you remain chained. But the moment you surrender, you step into freedom. And as you walk this path, remember that you are not surrendering into emptiness. You are surrendering into love, into grace, into strength far beyond your own. That is the victory of surrender. Don't forget to continue to the final episode, episode 8, where we dive deep into using wisdom to conquer lust once and for all.